Hello, everyone. This is Wendy, and basically over the past 24 hours, we've seen that Fissure 8 has been the dominant producer of lava. That is the same one that was active yesterday, overnight, that produced the lava flow that went through the eastern edge of Leilani Estates. And overnight, the flow was, or that fountain, the lava fountain from Fissure 8 was reaching heights of 200 feet. And it was feeding a flow that was traveling to the northeast, and that it was overprinting the lava flow that had inundated Leilani Estates on the night before. It crossed Poho'iki Road at 5 a.m. this morning, and we have crews out there right now tracking the advancement of that flow. It is moving across the PGV access road, so it's continuing its advancement towards the northeasterly direction. There's also been some volcanic glass and other material that are being blown downwind from that high fountain at Fissure 8. And there were reports of Peles hair falling in Pahoa. It's important that people realize that the stuff that might be falling from the sky, especially in Pahoa, is volcanic glass, and they can cause skin and eye irritation, similar to volcanic ash. These are really sharp pieces. They can poke into your skin. So just be aware that if you're sensing that there's little rocks falling from the sky or pieces of volcanic material falling from the sky, that you should just be cautious of those. Don't rub it onto your skin because it can kind of embed in your skin and irritate you. Maybe rinse your skin off with water if you encounter the pieces of volcanic glass falling from the sky. Also, the volcanic ash, the gas emissions rates from the fissures still remain high, and I'm hoping that we'll get a report on the weather, but trade winds are reported to start coming back in the few days ahead, so hopefully that will mean the fog and the falling of volcanic glass from the sky will switch directions and not impact people into Pahoa and other areas to the north. Then going up to the summit, ash has been continuously kind of erupting from the vent within Holly Mountain Mount Crater. And at 1:56 a.m., there was an explosion that sent ash to 15,000 feet above sea level. The ash cloud rose pretty much vertically and then drifted only a little bit to the northwest because the winds were very calm. And the explosion was reported by residents in Volcano because, well, there were also some incandescent blocks that were thrown out of the vent and landed in Holly Mountain Mountain just along the edge of the crater rim. That's my update for today.
Aloha all. My report today is pretty much status quo. Park remains closed, 2/3 of it, and today is day 19 of the park closure. I was at a meeting prior to this one where our facilities maintenance chief gave an update on some of the earthquake damage that has occurred. Right now, the entire park is without water in the Kilauea sector. It's unknown how many number of damaged water lines there are. There are at least 8. 6 have been repaired, but there could be more. And we don't know when we're going to be able to turn the water back on in the park. It's kind of like, when is this eruption cycle going to end? And we, since the earthquakes and seismicity remains elevated and ongoing, there seems to be little sense in fixing these very old pipes that keep getting damaged with the new earthquake cycle. There is also, as of last night, significant damage to Helena Pauley Road, and 3 buildings have still sustained earthquake damage, which include the Jagger Museum, the USGS Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, as well as the Visitor Emergency Operations Center. And that's all I have today.
All right. Good morning, everyone from Hawaii. Right now, as Wendy mentioned, we do have some lighter winds, and they are pushing some of the volcanic emissions towards the north and northwest. And we expect that to continue through today, but we do have our trade winds starting to pick up later on this evening and tonight and tomorrow. So we should be back to sending those emissions mostly downstream to the southwest. Otherwise, it's a very rainy day over on the windward side of the Big Island, and we expect that rain to continue through the day tonight and into tomorrow, with some clearing expected by tomorrow late in the morning.
Our first question comes from Sherry Bracken, Hawaii Public Radio. Your line is now open.
Hi, good morning. Aloha, everybody. Wendy, you spoke of the lava, but please address Highway 132 and where the lava is and where it seems to be going relative to 132 or other highways.
Hi, Sherry. Wendy Stovall here. So I don't have the exact location of the flow front right now. It does seem like it is still moving towards the northeast, and it's there's a map that we published yesterday on our website. So if you look at that map, you can see that it looked like the front of the flow was going to cross a road that goes down towards PGV, and we do see that it has crossed, basically crossing that road as we speak. So the trajectory is towards Highway 132, but I don't know what the timing is and whether that flow will continue to be fed. I'm trying to get up-to-date information on it, but I don't have an exact location of the flow front right now. I'm sorry.
No worries. That's fine. It just, Civil Defense said Highway 132 was shut at 6:45, so I didn't know if the lava was actually there yet or coming. So thank you so much.
It's not there yet. It's still kind of on its way there.
Thank you a lot.
Okay.
Our next question comes from Jim Roop with Westwood One News. Your line is now open.
Thank you. Good morning. Jim Croy-Callis said a couple of things yesterday that I would love some clarification on. Number one, that, as I understand it, the crater, Halemaumau, is now went from 12 acres to 90 acres. What does that mean in the scheme of things? And then what did he mean by the fact that the theory of eruptions might be changing a little bit, in that they are gas-driven as opposed to steam-driven, even though instruments would say the contrary? Could someone clarify that for me?
Sure. So it's not Halemaumau itself that has gained an area. It's the overlook crater vent that's inside Halemaumau. So since the lava drained away, that crater vent the overlook crater vent has been kind of collapsing in on itself. And in the process of some of these explosions that have occurred from the summit, another vent has opened up that's really, it looks like a classic steam vent. It's white in color, and we haven't been able to get any accurate gas measurements specifically from that location. It's dangerous for our scientists to go out there and then, flying a drone into that area to collect measurements, is we just don't want to lose it. So the change in idea of the dynamics that are driving the summit explosions has come about because of a few different things that we're seeing. There's gas data that we have gotten from traverses downwind, indicating that there is magma still within that crater vent, the overlook crater vent. And the material that is coming out in the process of explosion has some, what we call juvenile material. So it's little bits of lava, essentially, that are thrown out, in addition to, the corroded rocks that are from within the vent. So we have two things. We have certainty for volcanic gases, like SO2, and some other volcanic gases. And then we have these juvenile components. And, in the background of all of this is scientists are having this conversation of what is actually driving these events, and we're trying to get a better handle on it and looking at the geophysical data as well, so the deformation data and the seismic data, trying to pick out patterns. And in doing this, we're hoping to better understand what's going on within the Hatley Mountain Mouth system itself, and that can help us to better forecast when things might be closing down up there. So does that help answer your question a little bit?
Actually, it does. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right. Our next question comes from Miguel Marquez with CNN. Your line is now open.
Thank you very much. Wendy, very quick question for you. On a big picture, can you give us a sense of where you think this new activity, the new lava, is coming from? We seem to have a couple of days where lots of fissures went dormant, and then several reactivated yesterday, and now obviously 8 is really sort of working away, it seems. Any idea sort of what that play in that sort of vast system of plumbing?
Okay. Wendy Stovall, USGS. So the way that we are envisioning this is that it's called a dike. It's a perpendicular plane of magma that has risen up to the surface in the area where these fissures are active. Essentially, the whole dike is at the surface right now. So we see it sometimes become more vigorous in one area and then kind of die down and become less vigorous. But the general idea is that we have it's at the surface, and it's starting to migrate back to the west and uprift. So that's, 2 days ago, Fissure 7 was the most active one. 2 days before that, the vents that were, the vents that were a little bit further to the east were active, and so we're still seeing this progression back towards the east. We're doing measurements of temperature and gas at the vents that are further uprift, and we have noticed that they're starting to show signs that those, the ones that are a little bit further to the west will reactivate. The thing that we are not seeing, and we continue to not see, is that the area around Highway 130, where those cracks are, where they've kind of covered them over with plates, there's no sign of SO2, or H2S first, which would be the first gas that we would detect if magma was moving to the surface. It's really just in the line where the fissures originally opened that we're seeing potential reactivity uprift towards the west. So that's really what's going on, and there's no further sign that there's a widening in the lower east drift zone, and we were seeing the widening. The widening was indicating that there was magma that's pressurized in that system pushing out, so we're not seeing that anymore, and we do expect things to probably continue to migrate still to the west. So,
thank you.
Our next question comes from Michael Phillips, Weather Boy Weather. Your line is now open.
Hi, my question is for the National Weather Service. It looks like in the light winds yesterday, a pyrocumulus cloud formed, creating an isolated thunderstorm over Lailani Estates. Are you seeing more things like that popping up, and is the volcano eruption driving any weather on the Big Island or throughout the state with all the aerosols it's pumping in the air?
No, I didn't see anything in our lightning detection network yesterday for any thunderstorms over there, but we have seen pyrocumulus, especially coming out of on the East Rift area. If you look at the plumes coming off of that, you'll see the pyrocumulus forming at the top of those plumes. But we haven't seen anything large enough to produce thunderstorms. We do have, of course, a lot of aerosols in the air. On the other side of the island in Kona, it's very hazy over there with visibilities below or at 5 miles with the all the particulates in the air that kind of traverse down from the crater around the island to the southwest and then come up and around and affect the leeward side of the island. For the smaller islands, we haven't had the right wind direction to bring any of that towards the smaller islands, which is good for the rest of the state. And we're in a good part of the year where trade winds do continue for most of the time here. We rarely see an interruption in the trade. So hopefully that continues during this event.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Michael Brestovinsky with Hawaii Tribune Herald. Your line is now open.
Thank you. This one's for Wendy again. The lava lately has been obviously a little bit faster than it has been in the past. I believe around a couple hundred feet out in an hour. I was wondering if you might comment on what factors are driving that speed increase, and whether it would be plausible for it to get still faster in the future.
Hi, Wendy Stovall, USGS. So we've seen a couple of different things happen, especially over the past 48 hours. The lava that moved through Leilani Estates that was reported to have moved 10 lots in 10 minutes was a result of a breakout from a ponded area. So when lava builds up these ponds, creates sides for itself that hold a big body of lava, it remains hot, and that lava remains still very fluid in nature. So if the side of that pond, the wall of the pond fails, it will pour out very rapidly. And so that was what happened in the 10 lots in 10 minutes scenario. The channelized lava flows, there have been channelized lava flows. Prior to that, we started to see when things ramped up a little bit over a week ago, and those were moving down to the coast. And we believe that those flows were probably moving similarly as fast as the ones that have been recorded just overnight and some yesterday. So it's just really a process of how the lava is contained for how fast it flows. The ones that have been moving from Fissure 8 today have been channelized, and they've been going more towards that northeasterly direction. So the slope is not as great as it was going down to the coast. Perhaps we even had faster flow rates going down to the coast. It was very hard for us to go down and measure that because of the sulfur dioxide hazard present. We didn't want to put anyone downwind of that for long periods of time. But we have finally been able to get these calculations of some of these channelized flows, and these Fissure 8 is really the dominant direction of flow is to the northeast, and so we have been able to get those measurements. The lava coming off of those fountains is very hot. We had high temperature measurements from them several days ago. We don't think that the temperatures have gone down significantly, and because it's hot, it just is allowed to stay more fluid and flow more freely, and that's why we're seeing those higher flow rates.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next question comes from Rosemary Otto with Honolulu Star Advertiser. Your line is now open.
Hi, this question is for Wendy. Just stepping back a little bit where you mentioned there were some incandescent blocks that were thrown and landed on the edge of the crater rim. Can you please expound on that? Can you quantify how many blocks were thrown from that explosion?
Okay, this is Wendy Stovall. So I actually haven't seen the footage of it, but we have webcams that are up at the HVO, still on the HVO tower that are side the tower that are at Hollywood. So after the eruption happened last night, one of our scientists that was on watch combed back through those images and noted that there are white blocks. They are, when they're white, they're incandescent when they show up in the cameras. And the reason why they're incandescent is because we are now, changing our frame of reference, and these magmatic gases, as they're streaming through the vent, are very hot, and those are continuing to heat the blocks that are in the walls of the vent. And so when the explosions happen, it throws out those hot blocks, and we can see them in webcam imagery, especially overnight. It's very easy to see them overnight.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yep. And I just want to note that we're hopefully going to be able to install a thermal camera to better quantify and note when those incandescent blocks are being thrown out, and also how far they're reaching. So without putting anyone in harm's way to go out on the crater floor and measure those things, we should be able to see how many there are and where they're landing, and hopefully we'll have some more detailed information once we get those cameras in place.
Great. Thanks again.
Our next question comes from Heidi Chang. Your line is now open.
Thank you. Aloha. I have a question for Wendy. Wendy, in the past you've talked about how lays has been an ongoing phenomenon. My question is about Peles hair. How frequent is it? Is it rare, or how often do you see it falling? And could you describe it a little bit more, how it's created, and when it falls, how dangerous is it, and how it can affect people? Thank you.
Hi, this is Wendy Stovall. So Peles hair is something that occurs in fountaining eruptions, and I don't know if any of you have ever watched someone blow glass, or if you can imagine like blowing glass. So this is kind of what the fountains are doing. They're throwing up very hot, liquid rock into the air, which is volcanic glass, essentially. And when the pieces cool, as they're flying through the air, they leave these strands of, long strands of glass behind them. And those strands cool as the molten material is flying through the air. That's Peles hair, those cooled strands of volcanic glass that are coming off of the fountains, usually off the tops of the fountains. Over the past 24 hours, people have started to notice it because the winds have shifted. And so even though we had high fountains earlier in this eruption, the trades were strong, and they were blowing things downwind or away from Pahoa, which is where we've had these reports of the Peles hair. So that's formation process and why we haven't seen them until recently. I've done a lot of work in the field and have looked at deposits of Peles hair, and if you put it in your hand and you crumpled it up, then it's like tiny little needles. So it would just poke into your skin, and that's really it's not specifically a hazard. It's not in a huge amount. There's not large quantities of Peles hair falling from the sky. It just you might notice it falling on you, and you might see some little bits of what look like, shiny little strings, or they almost look like spider webs. And they land on your skin. And if you rubbed your skin, just like if you were to walk in an attic that had fiberglass, if you rub your skin when you got that on your skin, then it would irritate you. And it's not going to cause you any, it's not going to hurt you for a long period of time. It's just going to be an irritant, a skin irritant. Or if it gets in your eyes, it will irritate your eyes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question comes from Denise Leitonen with USA Today. Your line is now open.
Hi, my question is for Wendy. Wendy, I am looking at the map that was released by USGS yesterday. Earlier in the call, you mentioned that Fissure 8 it has channelized lava and it's moving northeast. There's a path of deepest descent, blue line on the map that would take the lava across 132 and then downslope towards Beach Road, which is about 5 miles downslope. Are you seeing the lava stay true to that path of deepest descent, the fast-moving channelized flow that's coming from Fissure 8?
I actually haven't. I haven't gotten an exact location for where that lava is going down, but to travel, we haven't seen lava flows that have reached distances yet, like down to the beach road area. So we can't even start to think about whether it would get that far. But we do know that it has crossed over the PGV access road, and that's just to the north. There's if you're looking at that map, there's a 1955 flow and then like a topographic high area. So it's going just kind of around that area and has crossed the PGV road. So again, not exactly sure where it is right now. I can try to find out.
My question was, what if the lava was following the path of deepest descent, if it was staying true to that, because
it seems to be a little bit offset from the path of steepest descent right now. So a little bit to the south of it.
Gotcha.
Our next question comes from Michael Brzezinski with Hawaii Tribune Herald. Your line is now open.
Hi, thanks again. Another one for Wendy. I know the composition of the lava, the more recent lava, has been newer lava rather than the stuff that's been sitting in the East Rift Zone for the past several decades. Can you update what's the composition of the latest flow from Fissure 8? What's that like now?
We don't have a new number on that. I'm sorry.
Okay.